My name is Renee Petro. My son's Brandon Petro. He has a severe form of epilepsy. Currently, we're being investigated by CPS for giving Brandon marijuana extract and not giving Brandon his pharmaceutical meds. And all I am doing is giving Brandon a legal hemp oil, which technically you could buy at any Whole Food market. So I'm going about it in a legal manner, and I'm just advocating for the whole plant, for the whole cannabis plant, which would be vote yes on to in November. Many parents need to do what's right for their children. Okay, I need you to just wait 1 minute, Brandon, okay?
I'm at school.
Yes.
I came down. Okay.
So there are some before and after pictures of Brandon before he got sick, because the first 8.5 years of his life he was a perfectly healthy child, and so this was literally about 5 months before he became ill. This is his last year in the school before he became sick, and then this is sort of where he is now in his school with his, special friends. And these are also before pictures of him playing soccer, and then I kind of like to show people, look at how he looks now. Yeah. You could see it's all like med. It's like you can see it. He's just doped up on medication. And then this is him when he was in a comatose state.
It looks like I died.
It looks like it, but he's not. He's right here. He's strong. So basically, we were traveling abroad June of 2010, and a month into our vacation, Brandon became ill. He started out with a febrile illness, and we went to the doctors like a typical parent would do, trusting the doctors, and they could tell me that he had some sort of bacterial illness, and they put him on antibiotics. They started the first type of antibiotic that they thought would help him, but it didn't. He just became very lethargic and wanted to sleep all the time. He literally only wanted to sleep and didn't eat. He was also complaining that the left side of his neck was hurting him, and he had a swollen gland that was popping out. They said that was from his bacterial infection. But again, he wasn't feeling better, so I asked for another doctor to come to the home and check on Brandon, and he said, no, it's not a bacterial infection, it's some sort of sinus infection. We're going to put him on another antibiotic, which in turn got him really ill. And then shortly after that, July 17, 2010, he woke up from his nap at 7 p.m. at night, and we went into the kitchen, him and I, and he stopped talking. He had this puzzled look on his face. And I said to him, Brandon, are you okay? And a friend of the family said, Renee, I think Brandon's having a seizure. And
the seizures are bad.
The seizures are bad. And sure enough, we rushed him to the hospital, and at that point, he was in a full-blown grand mal seizure, and when they took him away from me right at the emergency room, they got him out of the car. He was unresponsive. He had at that moment stopped breathing, and they had to resuscitate, and he went into status. He kept seizing, and from that moment on, our lives just went plump. So fast forward 3 months later, after being put into a comatose state, his body pumped full of every medication you can think of. He came out of the coma as a drug addict, really. He was going through severe withdrawals because they stopped so many of the medications at once that he was hissing and growling at us. They had to restrain him to the bed because he wasn't in his normal right state of mind. And they were speculating. They said it could have been a viral encephalitis, a malformation of his brain, but yet they couldn't find anything wrong with him. And we went through the gamut of medications. They said he has epilepsy, an acquired epilepsy, global brain damage. He has so much brain damage that he's pretty much forgotten 90% of his life prior to his illness, and that for the rest of his life he would be severely handicapped. We continued searching, and finally I found a doctor from St. Jude who did so many tests and scans, and then he came into our room and said that Brandon has a disorder called FIRES, febrile infection-related epilepsy syndrome. You know, that we're lucky that Brandon's alive, that children like Brandon that get FIRES normally die in the acute phase or they go into a vegetated state. But that more than likely he was going to need care and assistance for the rest of his life. So he sort of altered medications and weaned him off, and you know, we pretty much came back home. And at that moment when we took off in the airplane and we came back to Tampa, I knew that something needed to be done, that he wasn't giving us a diagnosis, he was opening our eyes to the fact that doctors are not perfect, and that we as parents need to be advocates for our children, and that means we need to fight for them, and that means we need to research everything and know that, you know, there are other answers to problems. So that's when I came across the word CBD, and that's when I came across the word cannabis. Somebody had sent me a text message and said, "Renee, did you see this CDB or CBD Jason and Jaden's story in California? You know, you need to go online and Google Jaden's journey." And I did, and sure enough, it was a little boy that has Dravet syndrome, and his father is a you know, activist, advocate for his son, and you know, he weaned him off of 23 pharmaceutical meds that his son was on at one time, and he's on cannabis oil, a variety. Now, I'm not just saying CBD, I'm saying THC, THCA, so the whole plant. And Jaden's came out of a catatonic state, and he's almost okay. You know, I wouldn't say he's perfect, but he can try and communicate with his dad a little bit, whereas before he couldn't. So I thought, you know what, maybe there's something there for Brandon. And that's how the journey of trying to free the plant came along. We said, you know what, here in Florida, we need to try and educate the legislators and the politicians on doing what's right for the people that are ill, because that's why we vote them into office, right? To do what's right for the people, because this is a democratic country where they're supposed to do for the people. And that's what we've been doing. At the same time, since I am in a illegal state, I cannot use cannabis oil, but I am and have been utilizing a rich hemp CBD oil called the Real Scientific Hemp Oil by Hemp Med PX. I think it's helping Brandon better than this that I'm giving my son right now. All of this, the side effects that he's having right now, suicidal thoughts and tendencies, all of this. It is a supplemental hemp product. I have had it tested with multiple labs. It has not come back with any, you know, bacteria, pesticides, nothing. It's a good product. You need to get credible lab tests done. So with that being said, you start to come together in the cannabis community with people that you hope and believe would help you out, and with the people that you source yourself with, they will connect you with labs that you can then get your oil tested with. So it takes a lot of research. There's nothing wrong with it. It's helping a lot of people. Now, With that being said, is it helping Brandon 100%? No. So here's the thing. With this, which I'm giving it to him twice a day, and he gets about 2 ml of oil twice a day. I still have to give Brandon all of his meds. This is what Brandon gets every day, right here. In the morning, he gets Depakote sprinkles, which works as a multi-pharmaceutical drug. It helps with seizures. He gets to take this 3 times a day, and he gets more than what 3 adults would get. Clonazepam, which is a pretty intense narcotic, and he gets 2 milligrams throughout the day over 3 days. And of course, it kind of tells you what it may cause dizziness, it may cause inhibition to do this and that and whatnot. And then he gets Lamictal, and then this is his emergency med. They call it the emergency med. I think it's a bunch of poison. This is Diastat. This is a rectal Valium, and this is for a 5-minute or more seizure or cluster of seizures. This doesn't work. All that works right now is a very addictive drug. It is Versed. It is something that they use only in hospitals, but this is the only thing that will stop his seizures. But the side effects are really bad. So that's for a emergency type of drug. Now, the doctor just prescribed something to help with his temper tantrums or to keep him a bit more sedated. This has a really nasty side effect. I have not given it to him. I will not give it to him because I'd rather him throw a temper tantrum than have him develop breasts. So with all of this, he gets this. So do I fully see the effects of this with that? No. In fact, I don't think that this is able to work as good as it should because of all of this. Even with all of this that I'm giving him, I still had somebody call in to DCF 2 weeks ago because they've said that I am not giving him his anticonvulsant medication and I'm only giving him cannabis extract, which this is not cannabis extract. So that is the latest thing, is that DCF has decided to open an investigation on my family. They've come to my home. They talked to myself. They talked to my daughter. They talked to Brandon's nurse separately. They wanted to talk to Brandon, but unfortunately he had a seizure and he was in a postictal state, which means he seized and pretty much went to sleep because that's what happens to him. But they insisted on wanting to take a picture of him because they said that they had to get a picture to show that they saw him. So they made me turn his head to where they could see his face. And she counted all of the medication with her special medicine counter. And then she asked me if I was giving Brandon illegal drugs. She asked my daughter if my daughter liked to live with us. She asked if I was a good mom. She asked my daughter, who's 9 years old, if I give Brandon illegal drugs. I was very upfront with her and told her that I'm not giving Brandon cannabis oil. If I could give Brandon cannabis oil, I would, but I know I know what could happen. That's committing a crime and I could lose my children and go to jail. So that's why I'm trying to advocate for it in a legal manner, but yet we're still being looked at as criminals because we're advocating for a stigmatized plant. It's still an open investigation. What I did was, because I was so mad at our system and I was so mad at our democratic country, that I said, you know what, I'm going to call every media outlet that I know and that's been following our story, and I'm going to tell them what has happened, how we've been violated because of advocating, because of freedom of speech, and how really in reality there isn't such thing as freedom of speech. With that being said, there are several initiatives or several CBD bills that are going through the House and the Senate right now to try and legalize the high CBD, low THC Charlotte's Web. Now, I initially went up to Tallahassee and I spoke on behalf of my son, but on behalf of what we feel as citizens of the United States of America feel that we should be able to utilize. I was one of those parents that said, there are so many other people that are going to need the cannabis plant, the whole plant. We can't exclude the facts and the science that shows that everything works together, and it works in this beautiful plant. We, the Canna Moms, have joined forces. That's myself and 3 other mothers, 2 in Colorado, 1 that's a refugee of the state of Florida, moved to Colorado because her daughter has cancer and needed to utilize the high THC oil. Another child that has leukemia and also needs to utilize the THC oil. And then a little boy here in Miami that needs the CBD. We all decided to unite and call ourselves the Canna Moms. The Canna Moms that can do anything for everybody. We went up to Tallahassee, to the Capitol, and we spoke before the Criminal Justice Committee on how we want to try and legalize a medicinal form of cannabis in the state of Florida, and how we shouldn't be targeted or stigmatized as criminals for doing that. So that was sort of one thing that opened the door to many. And then we've been working hand in hand with the United for Care here in Florida, with the Morgan and Morgan movement to have everyone vote yes on 2 come this November. It's the getting to the politicians, I believe, that we've been trying to do, and we have successfully and not so successfully. The not so successfully part for me is that with all the advocating and talking to politicians and legislators, we've still been targeted. And I think that that's going to sort of follow us for a very long time, which is unfair, but hey, what's fair in life? Brandon's nurse called me. She told me that Child Protective Services called her on her cell phone and wanted to come here. So it was Child Protective Services that came to our home. It was an anonymous tip. Since I have lots of supporters out there, I got a phone call telling me that they know who the anonymous tip was. And it turned out to be Brandon's nursing agency. So his home health nursing agency. The clinical supervisor there at Maxim Home Health Care. Apparently, she came to my home the day before Child Protective Services came here, and she looked through Brandon's current medications. She took it upon herself to call Child Protective Services because she doesn't feel that my way of advocating for this alternate medication is what she thinks is correct. If they don't decriminalize it, right, because a couple of these bills that are going before House and Senate right now, technically when it's legal, we still could go to jail for utilizing it, even though it's legal in the high CBD, low THC oil. But we hope that with compassionate care that they won't put us in jail. But we don't have the money to hire lawyers and fight for, we don't have, so everything has to be defined and defined quite well to the finest point of we are protected. We are protected as caregivers, giving our children and our loved ones cannabis, and that we should have the right to grow our own plants as well, so that we don't have to rely on others to get it from them, okay? Because now there are things like the magical butter machine where you can make your own oil. So there are things that are becoming, easier for us as caregivers to give. The first and the foremost thing is to do the research. Just Google cannabis and Google government, and it'll right there go to the fact that it is of medicinal benefit, but yet they still hold it hostage. We should know and understand why they're not letting us utilize it, and why is it so beneficial and they're hiding it from us. Obviously it's a important plant. So really it starts with education. You've got to know what your options are, because I tell people, these drugs, it's just baloney. It doesn't work. It really is. All it's doing is hurting Brandon, hurting his liver, eventually he's going to need a liver transplant, or he'll develop maybe a secondary or a cancer or something. I mean, I don't know. All I know is this stuff is poison. And then you look at what cannabis can do. I think that if everybody educates themselves and they say, you know what, we as Americans have the right to become or get treated with something that will help us, not kill us. As a mother of a very sick child, one who actually wanted to be the next president of the United States of America, I would want to say that we have to set aside the greed and the big pharma money and the interests, and we have to look at what's right for our people, for the people that are suffering, for the people that overdose continuously every day on pharmaceutical meds, and that again, we need to set aside everything and just focus on what's right for the people of America, because that's what the government's for, right? For the people. And I guess my question would be, are they for the people? It's about human life. It's about compassionate care. So I think I want to leave it off with just being a human being and being compassionate and trying to do everything to give our country a better way at life.
And I don't feel anything. If I take it, I don't feel anything. If I stay up when I take it, I don't feel it. But if I go to sleep, I get very relaxed and I can sleep the whole night. So.
Well, I had a specific form of lung cancer, and I was operated for it, and I'm taking it so it's preventive, so it won't get back again. Simple as that.